so fun to be able to connect with you again and to really celebrate this golden wisdom of love, legends, and legacies. You were in Wisdom of the Silver Sisters.
Yes, I was.
Very cool. And what was your experience with that?
It was amazing. First of all, a couple of the authors I knew before. Um, and then I got to meet some really great people. And it's amazing that no matter what your backgrounds are and where you write from the perspective in the story, I just find it fascinating. I feel like I need to be a sponge and just absorb everybody.
Ah, that's beautiful. So, what made you decide to be in this year's book?
I wanted to keep up to date on it. And it's really kind of funny because when I started for thinking about for this book, I was going one direction, I ended up going another. But that's the way my brain goes. So I guess that was a natural progression.
What's the name of your chapter?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Isn't that great? Because you put me on the spot. It's I don't know.
It's I don't know. I probably have it here but I don't think I have it up right now. So that's okay.
I can tell you that it features an organ and a legacy.
Ah, that's right. Music, something about music, legacy, and an organ or something on that
Organ or
order.
something. Yeah. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared to even know my own chapter. It's like my brain just it's out there and it's done.
Yeah, I understand because it's like you just put me on the spot. Ugh. So, in this chapter, what do you hope that somebody that reads your chapter that they walk away with?
Well, this was a different chapter for me to write because I wrote it from a perspective of honoring a legacy that I had, but also thinking about the future generations, my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids, and how that with the changing times, our expectations of their appreciation of the legacies or the way they deal with them are not necessarily the same, but that's okay, because we hopefully raise our children and they know that, their way, their path, and the way they honor their past and the family past is okay. Things have changed so much. We all used to sit around and for me, listening to my grandparents, I never really knew my great grandparents, but listening to my grandparents and my dad and different family members, I loved the stories, and ours was a story like a lot of people that come to America.
Mm-hmm.
My family came to California in the 1860s, and so there was a lot of changes at the time, and it was just I have this organ that I'm sitting in front of that it came down to me, and my kids don't. I'm not sure if they necessarily want it. It's not because they don't appreciate it, but modern homes don't really have
No.
the place for it. So I kind of letting them off the hook. I want them to know the story and to appreciate it, but also, just let people know that it's nothing against your history or the way you feel about things. If your family happens to feel a little bit different, their
Right.
times, like I said, have changed a lot. People are, they talk to each other more often. They see each other more often. You don't wait for that airmail letter to come or
Right.
anything like
Yeah.
that. So, you hear it a lot, and unfortunately, I know that even for myself, at a certain age, especially as an adult, when I started hearing some of the same stories again in your head, even though you're politely, oh, you're going, I've heard that before.
I heard that one so many times before. So, I was thinking about that because my mom and I had that conversation quite often because they have stuff that I would just love to have. But I do not have room in my home for all the stuff that has meant I'm seeing that stuff since I was a child.
Yeah.
And it's still in her home. And yet in our generation, where we're coming out of a couple of generations that they couldn't bring much with them when they came across on the boats or whatever. But today, our generation, but more so our children and grandchildren's generation, they can go anything time they want something, they can go to the store and get it. It wasn't
Right,
that
or
way
order it
before.
on Amazon.
Right, right. And it wasn't that way before. You know,
Yeah.
those things were held such a value because those were such hard work for things, and you just couldn't go down the street and purchase another thing or order it, sit at your home and order it on Amazon, like you say, you know.
Right. And it's like some of the things, not only the objects on the ships or whatever method that they came to America or wherever your land is, because I'm sure we're not all, in America right now, but um, not only did some of their items not come, but some of the family members that traveled with them.
Right.
So it made it even dearer because they know that that might have been the last thing that someone touched, or it was the last person that played it. So there's just so many things, and I've always been a history buff, and so for me, when I was a kid, the first time I saw this organ was at my great grandmother's house, who, like I said, I didn't get to spend a lot of time with, but I can remember it was sitting over in a corner, and the adults were having conversations and running my finger on the organ and thinking about what I'd heard a little bit about it and wondering. And it's funny because I had that same feeling the first time I went to Europe, and I was standing in a cathedral, and I put my hand on the back of a pew, and I thought, oh my gosh, how many
How many
people
people
have
that exact
so it just, I'm just kind of like, I really love history. And my dad started genealogy when he retired, and he got into it. My sister now is really into it. She's amazing. One of my sisters. And I like the stories, for me, I always think about what was happening at the time that that part of our genealogy, was becoming. And so, like the California one, being a native Californian, it was really neat to see that this organ gave a lot of people joy. And it was a talent that the family brought with them. They were still hardworking. They didn't just, make their money off music, but it was just really interesting to see. And for the person in it was this one here, and his name was Schofield Holgate, and he was one of the founders of a city that will eventually become a city, Norwalk, California, but it was originally a land grant, a Mexican land grant, which is the way they did the lands there. And so I've been really trying to research and find out what made him go to California. Then it wasn't the gold rush. He never participated in the gold rush. So that's the kind of stuff that fascinates me. And that's what I want my kids to think about,
right,
is
right.
the history and what it took to get people here. And some will be more interested than others, but some of them are making their own history now too. So it's okay.
Absolutely. We all
This
do.
is a lot of pressure.
Each generation does. What's interesting about this book is that we have a lady that's 94 that wrote in this book. We have a gentleman that's 90 years old, and we have everything in between. We have, I think, this girl, I'm not sure how old she looks like, she's in her 20s. So we have quite a vast array here. And wow, what a beautiful privilege to be a part of it.
Yeah, and the stories are all great. And I learned so much about people and the authors in the book, but also sometimes it'll bring up something that you weren't aware of that might have happened during a certain time, or you have hope because someone had immense inner strength and courage and got through things that you wonder how they ever did. So I always find the books really enlightening. And the Silver Sisters book, it still amazes me. I go back and read it.
Me too.
Yeah, I go back and read it, and there's some really amazing women in that book that you're just grateful to be in their company. And
absolutely,
you kind of hope it rubs off on you
come
a little
on,
bit.
come on.
Yeah, come on.
I need a little bit more
talent.
of that. No,
So it's great, but I love it. It's a great process. I just really enjoy the whole idea of people sharing their stories.
There's something magical about the stories,
Yeah,
and the richness that is in those stories, and what a blessing to be able to be a part of something like this.
It is. And I think the hardest part for me was keeping it down to
so few words.
Yeah, and then you're going, should I have left that in or out? But then that's why I couldn't remember the title, because once it's gone, it's out there. Because otherwise I'm an overthinker.
I get it. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this and sharing your own wisdom. And just let's celebrate as this book, it's just weeks away now from
I know, I'm so
being
excited.
published. So we're just in the nick of time for getting this into the book. So thank you for taking the time to do this again.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Bye-bye.